Hey everyone and welcome back. I know a lot of you out there are really into all this connected car tech, but you're also a little bit nervous about the security side of things.
Uh,
And I don't blame you. Convenience is great, but not when it comes at the cost of safety. So today we're going to take a deep dive into this recent article from Obsessed with the Culture of Cars. And this one, it's a doozy.
oh yeah, this one's pretty wild. It's all about a security flaw they found in Subaru's Starlink system.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about someone like unlocking your doors remotely. This is like potential access to all sorts of sensitive data and the ability to control some pretty key functions of the car.
Okay, so for anyone who's not totally up to speed on this stuff, Subaru Starlink, it's basically like the brain of modern Subarus, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all these connected services rolled into one. So owners can do things like remote start their cars, lock and unlock doors, call for roadside assistance, all through like an app on their phone.
Yep, exactly. It sounds super convenient in theory, but like we're going to see here, there's definitely a downside.
So this vulnerability, it really exposes something that keeps cybersecurity experts up at night, right? So there were these two researchers, Sam Curry and Shubham Shah, and they basically did what's called penetration testing.
Right. They're basically ethical hackers. They poke around in systems looking for weak spots before the bad guys can find them.
And boy, they find one.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they did it too. They found this unprotected admin panel for Starlink. Think of it like a back door into the entire system just left wide open.
Yeah. And from there, they managed to actually compromise Subaru employee accounts and get admin access themselves.
And get this, the way they were able to do it is what's really scary. The Subaru employee email addresses were like super easy to guess. And on top of that, the password reset process didn't even need a confirmation from the account holder.
It's kind of like leaving your front door unlocked, ain't 80 putting a spare key under the mat.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like a recipe for disaster.
Cool.
And the worst part, once they were in, what they could do was insane. We're talking about tracking a Subaru's location history for a whole year.
Right.
Imagine that someone knowing everywhere you went for a year. That's a privacy nightmare right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's not even just that. They could lock and unlock doors, set up those geofences, those virtual boundaries you can set for your car. Basically, they had a lot of control over the car, and all they needed was the car's VIN, which isn't exactly a secret.
That's DINs are everywhere. You see them through the windshield sometimes on the dashboard. They're on insurance documents. You can even find them with a license plate search. It's like the master key to your car is just out there for the taking.
Pretty much.
But, okay, here's the good news. Curry and Shaw, they're the good guys here. They did the right thing and followed the responsible disclosure process, meaning they told Subaru about this problem before they went and, used it for something bad.
Yeah. And to Subaru's credit, they fixed it fast, within 24 hours. So kudos to both sides for handling this the right way. And it's important to note, there's no evidence that any hackers actually exploited this vulnerability before it was fixed.
Okay, so that's a huge relief.
Yeah.
But I think what's really interesting here is what this whole thing tells us about the bigger picture of connected cars and data security.
Yeah, we're definitely going to dive into that. But first, let's just pause for a second and think about this. Imagine finding out that someone could track your car or unlock your doors without you knowing. It really makes you think twice about all the trade-offs we're making for convenience, huh?
No kidding. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the whole connected world and the security risks that come with it. Well, we'll get into all that after a quick break. All right, so we've talked about this Subaru thing and how messed up it is, but I feel like this is bigger than just cars, right? It's like a warning sign for all this connected tech we're surrounded by. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. This Subaru Starlink situation, it's a perfect example of the security risks that come with all this connected technology we rely on these days. We've got smart homes, wearables, even medical devices all hooked up to the internet now.
It's true. I mean, it is pretty cool being able to control your thermostat from your phone.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do wonder if we're trading convenience for safety.
Yeah, it's like we're so focused on the shiny new features that we forget to ask the important questions. What data are these devices actually collecting? How are they using it? And is it even secure?
Totally. And it's not just a theoretical thing either. Remember that whole baby monitor hacking thing a few years back?
Right.
People were freaking out that strangers could watch their kids through these devices that were supposed to be secure.
Oh, yeah. And what about those cases where hackers took over people's security cameras?
Yeah.
Imagine seeing your home broadcast live online without your knowledge. It's kind of terrifying.
It's like we're walking into a digital minefield blindfolded. And it's not just our privacy at stake either. It's our safety too. What if someone hacked into your car's brakes or steering? That's some scary stuff.
No kidding. The stakes are getting higher as our cars become more and more computerized. Like, think about self-driving cars. Those things are basically computers on wheels, and they rely on software updates that get beamed directly to the car over the air. It's cool, but it also creates a whole new set of vulnerabilities.
So what can we even do about it? It feels like we're at the mercy of these tech companies. Should we just hope for the best and cross our fingers?
Well, first of all, we got to stop blindly trusting technology. We need to be informed consumers, do our research, and understand the risks. When you buy a connected device, whether it's a car, a smart speaker, or a fitness tracker, ask yourself, what data is this thing collecting and how secure is it?
That's good advice. But let's be real. Who actually reads those privacy policies? They're like a million pages long and written in some kind of legal code.
I hear you. They're definitely not the most user-friendly, but we can't just ignore them. Even skimming through the key points is better than nothing. And beyond that, we got to be more careful about what information we share online. The less we put out there, the less there is to be stolen.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So be a smarter consumer.
Yeah.
But what about the companies that make this stuff? Don't they have a responsibility to keep our data safe?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They need to step up their game when it comes to security. It can't be an afterthought. It needs to be part of the design process from the beginning. We need strong authentication measures, encryption of sensitive data, regular software updates to patch vulnerabilities, and they need to be transparent about their security practices.
I like that transparency thing. It's like they say sunlight is the best disinfectant. If companies know we're watching and holding them accountable, they might actually start taking security seriously.
Exactly. And let's not forget about security researchers like those guys we talked about earlier, Curry and Shaw. We need more people like them poking around finding vulnerabilities and responsibly disclosing them so companies can fix them.
So it sounds like it's a shared responsibility. Companies need to build secure products, and consumers need to be informed and careful. We can't just assume someone else is taking care of our digital security. We got to be proactive.
You got it. And I think that brings us to a crucial question. What can individuals actually do to stay safe in this connected world?
Because let's face it, we're not going to unplug from the internet anytime soon.
Yeah.
We rely on these devices for everything: work, communication, entertainment, even our health. So how do we navigate this new digital landscape without putting ourselves at risk? So we've talked about Subaru Starlink and how it kind of feels like a wake-up call for the whole connected world. But what can we actually do to protect ourselves? I mean, it feels like every day there's a new hack or a data breach. It's enough to make you want to just ditch your phone and go live off the grid.
Yeah, I get it. But it doesn't have to be that drastic. There are definitely things we can do to stay safe without going full hermit. A good place to start is just being aware of the risks, like we talked about earlier. You got to understand what data your devices are collecting, how it's being used, and where the vulnerabilities might be.
Right. But that's easier said than done. I'm not exactly a tech genius. How am I supposed to understand all the ins and outs of every app and gadget I use?
You don't need to be a tech expert to be smart about security. There are tons of resources out there to help you. Websites like Consumer Reports or the Electronic Frontier Foundation, they have great guides on digital security. And honestly, just Google it. If you're not sure about an app or device, just search for reviews or articles about its security features.
Okay, so research first. Got it. What else? Sometimes it feels like all the security advice is just common sense stuff. Like, use strong passwords, don't click on sketchy links, keep your software updated. Is that really enough?
Yeah, those are definitely the basics. But you can do more than that, too. For example, have you ever thought about using a password manager? It takes the headache out of remembering a million different passwords. Plus, it can generate super strong, unique passwords for all your accounts.
That's a good idea. I've been meaning to try one of those. Anything else?
Another big one is two-factor authentication. Turn that on whenever you can. Basically, it adds an extra layer of security by making you enter a code from your phone or email along with your password. So even if someone steals your password, they still can't get into your account.
So be informed, use strong passwords, and turn on two-factor authentication. Got it. But what about the companies that make all this tech? Can we really trust them to prioritize our security?
That's a fair question. We've seen a lot of companies that don't take security seriously until it's too late. But we as consumers have power. We can demand better security from the companies we do business with. Support companies that are transparent about their practices and quick to fix vulnerabilities. You know, vote with your wallet.
I like that. It's like holding them accountable with our choices so we can make a difference. But let's be real. There are always going to be bad guys out there trying to hack stuff. Is it even possible to stay ahead of them?
Staying ahead of every single threat is tough. But it's not about achieving perfect security. It's about managing risk. By taking these steps, you can make yourself a much harder target and significantly reduce your chances of getting hacked.
That makes me feel a little better. It's good to know we're not totally helpless. We can take control of our own digital security. So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember from this deep dive into the world of connected cars and beyond?
The takeaway here is that the future is connected, and it's up to each of us to figure out how to navigate it safely and responsibly. By being aware of the risks, taking steps to protect ourselves, and demanding better security from companies, we can enjoy the benefits of technology without putting ourselves at risk.
Well said. That's a perfect way to end this conversation. It's been a fascinating look at the intersection of technology security and personal responsibility. We talked about the Subaru Starlink thing, what it means for the future of connected cars, and most importantly, what we can all do to stay safe in this increasingly digital world.
It's been a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.